Is it time to push the panic button? 8 weeks into the NFL season, is it over? We're going to go over that and much, much more on today's episode of Sports Talk with Hawk. Welcome in, everyone. What a wild weekend. What an absolutely wild weekend. Tell you what, there wasn't a lot of separation that took place this weekend. No siree. In fact, it got even more muddled and muddy. And my gosh, this is why we love football. This is why we love football. But we're going to go over some of the bottom feeder teams currently that could be in panic mode. Who's in panic mode? Who's in sell mode? And who's maybe in buy mode? We're going to go over all that here today. As usual, thank you so much for stopping by. Make sure to subscribe, like the podcast, ring the notification bell. That way you get notified every time a new podcast goes live. It is a beautiful Tuesday morning. The entire slate of games is now over. So let's jump right in. Why not? Let's just jump right into this. So first of all, we're going to go over the panic teams. I want to tell you which teams are not on the panic list, and I'll tell you why. The Browns are not on the panic list. Ownership told Stefanski, start Watson no matter what. They were slightly kind of hoping he would get hurt. I said this 2 weeks ago. Stefanski was told, start him. Your job is not in danger. You know, this is where we're at. Deshaun Watson is done playing for the Cleveland Browns. That I believe is very clear. The second team that's not in panic mode is the Giants. Brian Daboll, Joe Schoen have both been guaranteed their jobs by Mara. Could that change? Maybe, but not with how they've been playing. If they have a competent quarterback, they beat the Cowboys. If they have a competent quarterback, they beat the Steelers on Monday Night Football in Pittsburgh. Like, this is where they're at. They know they got to move on from Daniel Jones. They can cut him. It's only like 20, I think it's 15 to 20 million dead cap for next year. They'll live with it for 1 year. Who cares? Okay. Another team that they're not panicking is the Raiders. Antonio Pierce, GM, have both been guaranteed their jobs. Mark Davis is trying a different approach. This is why I don't dog on the Raiders like everybody else does. They have one of the least wealthiest owners. But he tries. He takes big swings. He traded for Davante Adams. Give him credit. He tried to right the coaching ship by signing a big name, big face, John Gruden. It just blew up in his face. He tried going after Josh McDaniels, taking a big swing. Now, he was taking that swing to try to get Tom Brady. But you know what? Why not? Everybody loves to dog on owners and dog on teams. I want you to try. I want you to try. Okay? The Jets, they're trying to save face. But he's got money. Mark Davis doesn't have money. Al Davis ran that franchise into the ground. His dad gave him a ball of garbage. I'm sorry. Al Davis was an iconic owner. I get it. But Al Davis ran that franchise into the ground, and Mark Davis has been left trying to pick up the pieces, and he doesn't have the inheritance, the money to back the team the way his dad could because of how bad the business was. So the Raiders are not a team that's in panic mode. The Panthers are not in panic mode. Yesterday, I saw a little bit of growth from Bryce Young. Yes, it was one game, but he was benched, purposely benched. It kind of gets your attention. Okay, the Saints, I don't think is necessarily panic mode. Their quarterback, Derek Carr's been hurt. They've been playing with the backup. You know, they got injuries, whatever. They can lobby it away. They are a team we'll get to in a little bit that I think is going to be a seller this week heading into the trade deadline and next week. We'll go over some of the trade rumors and mills here in a little bit. So those teams are not panicking. The Titans, I don't think are panicking. They've already shown they're sellers. There's no reason to panic. They need to see what they had with Will Levis. Brian Callahan, I don't think he's going to be a great coach. But I think he's realized quarterback-wise he's not where he wants to be. So we'll see what happens. But the teams that are panicking, let's start with the 2-5 Dolphins. And I know what you're thinking. You're going, hold it, they were without Tua. Okay. You're without Tua Tagovailoa. Fine. Most agree he's just a better accurate version of Dak Prescott. Small, has major limitations, shrinks in big games, cannot play with the big boys, beats up on really, bad teams, but has one of the, top 10 play call scheme artists as his coach. He's also got two of the best receivers in the NFL. Tyler Huntley won games with Baltimore. He's not a bad backup quarterback. But for whatever reason, McDaniel could not figure out how to unlock his good side. You come back with Tua. You've got a game against the Cardinals. I'm going to give the Cardinals credit here. You have a game against the Cardinals. You're at home. Tua Tagovailoa is back. And you fall to 2-5 instead of moving to 3-4. That's a problem. That's a big issue. And there is now panic in the Dolphins organization. Not because they were thinking they could win the division still, but because the playoffs are looking bleak. And the AFC is wide open when it comes to the playoff race. But you lost to Indianapolis, which as of right now, by default, could be a team that you're fighting with for the playoffs. Okay, you're sitting there at 2-5. Your quarterback is back, and I don't want to hear about the rust. Mike McDaniel had a great plan early. Get Tua completions, get him in the flow of the game. They're soft. The Dolphins are just flat out soft. There is no toughness. Arizona, to Arizona's credit, fought hard, game-winning field goal to win the game. Game-winning field goal to beat Miami in Miami. And now, because of all the happenings, the NFC West, which was vaunted, by me included, in the offseason, has been decimated by injuries. And don't look now, a lot of things are going to change really, really quickly. Arizona, San Francisco, and Seattle are all 4-4 in the NFC West. Oh yeah, and by the way, the Rams are 3-5. So they're going to be good. Beating Minnesota was a huge first step for them on Thursday Night Football. I thought they were going to be sellers. Teams were calling about Kupp. I think it hinged on the Minnesota game. If they lose that game, they sell. They win that game. And now, Seattle losing to Buffalo, You are sitting there one game out of the freaking division lead. Are you kidding me? Absolutely crazy. But if you're the Dolphins, this is panic mode. This is panic mode. So I looked up some of the stats because sometimes stats lie and sometimes they don't. So I looked up some of the stats. Now, some of this does go off of opponents, obviously. But think about this. The Miami Dolphins are currently number 6 in the league in overall defense. Overall defense yards per game. They're 6th. You know what they are in offense? 22nd. Now, I know what you're thinking. They've been without Tua. So what? The team has Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Kane, Mostert. They got the rookie from Tennessee, Jalen Wright. And they got Jeff Wilson Jr. still sitting there as a 4th string running back. You could turn this into a ground and pound team, but you're not tough enough to do it. They're 22nd in total offense. They are 22nd in turnover differential. They are bottom 3rd of the league in offense and turnover differential. I'd say the panic button is going off at this point. It's going off. It's been hit. Alarms are sounding because of how bad you looked against Arizona at home. Not going to lie, it doesn't really look good for the future. What's the bright glimmer of hope? You hope that Tua Tagovailoa, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle all figure it out, and the offense comes back. That's what you're hoping. That is exactly what you're hoping. So panic button on a scale of, let's make this easier. Let's go on a scale of 1 to 5. Panic button in Miami honestly can't be a 5 because of the Tua stuff, but it is a 4. There were reports coming out that Mike McDaniel may be losing the locker room. Belief in the coach may be waning. Those are never good reports. And a W over an Arizona team who is outrageously inconsistent, not great by any means. A win over them at home, Tua coming back, was what you needed. That is what you needed. And you let it slip through your fishy fingers. So there's 1. On a scale of 1 to 5, panic meter, it'd be a 4 for the Dolphins. I can't put 5 because of the injuries to Tua, because of that injury. I won't put it at a 5. I'll be fair. But this team has enough to beat the teams they played. They've got enough. All right, the next team we're going to look at on the panic meter, the Jets. I'm going to tell you right up front, it's 5. It's 5. They are at 2-6 and just lost to the now 2-6 New England Patriots. Oh, that's another team that's not on the panic meter. Nobody expected much of them. They got 2 W's, by the way. Before midseason, they have 2 W's. Drake May gets knocked out with a concussion. May has looked good. Jacoby Brissett leads a game-winning drive down the other way and beats the Jets. The Jets' defense has gone to absolute garbage. Space garbage. Since they fired Robert Saleh. They can't get off the field on third down. They can't generate the rush they need to. Hassan Reddick, they're like, he was rusty. Duh. He hasn't played in forever, hasn't practiced. Of course he was rusty. Woody Johnson makes the trade for Davante Adams. 2 games, he's got, I believe, just under 100 yards receiving in 2 games. I thought he was supposed to be the savior here. Rodgers and his old buddy. I thought that's what this was supposed to be. Woody Johnson made a quick fire. They fired the best coach on that staff. Do I think Saul is a great head coach? No. Do I want him as my defensive coordinator next year in Indianapolis? Heck yes. The guy does defense really, really well. He may not be head coaching material, but he's a dang good defensive coordinator. And he had that defense playing very well. The offense was just inept with Nat Hackett. The offense has scored a little better with Todd Downing, but Aaron Rodgers, because he doesn't like all the newfangled stuff, week number 1, the motion was roughly 60-65%. Week 2, the motion dropped half. It was down to 30%. He doesn't like motion. He doesn't like having to do that. He likes getting up there and trying to beat the defense because he's got such a big brain. Yes, I'm mocking him. That's what happens when you're arrogant and you're stupid and you think that you're something that you're not. You will never be Tom Brady. You'll never be Peyton Manning. You are never as good as they were anyway. You got lucky. Your Hail Marys are luck throws. It's 50-50 balls. And that's what you're more known for than actually winning anything. So they've got a 40-year-old quarterback who can't move, who's getting beat up now. They got a receiving core that isn't bad. They got weapons, but the quarterback can't produce. And they got a defense that's filled with dudes, guys that can play. And now they're softening quickly. So the Jets are number 4 in total defense. But they are 24th in total offense and 24th in turnover differential. Noticing a theme here? There's a theme. The Jets are in trouble. People say, yeah, their schedule eases up. This was supposed to be one of those ease up games. And they lost. The defense hasn't played well. The offense hasn't played well. It's bad. Panic meter is a 5. Do not trade away Garrett Wilson. Trade away Hassan Reddick. We'll get to the trade stuff here at the end. But really, that's where you're at. Let's just be honest. Panic meter for the Jets is a 5. All right, the Bengals. The Bengals. 3-5. I'm just going to come out and say it. Yeah, I would put this at a 5, and here's why. 23rd in total defense, 18 in total offense, and 16th in turnover differential. Nothing in the top half of the league. You've got Trey Hendrickson on defense. Sam Hubbard is a good complement player. He's not a star. Trey Hendrickson absolutely is. Stud of an end. You've got T. Higgins, Ja'Marr Chase, Joe Burrow. Suspect running back room, although Chase Brown has been doing really good. Zach Moss is exactly who I said he was. I didn't want the Colts to resign him because he's not that good. He was supposed to have the starting job in Cincy. He has it for a couple weeks. They realize, he's too fat, he's too clunky, he runs way too heavy. He's not actually that good. Yep, you're right. Chase Brown in, he's done much better. Deal with it. But I think for the Bengals right now, you really got to be concerned because of how Pittsburgh is playing. Pittsburgh is now 6-2. The Browns, like I said, aren't in panic mode, but they feel good beating the Ravens. The offense looked like an offense. I still think they're going to sell more players. I think they may sell one, if not two more players. Get picks. Get ready for 2025. But I don't think the Bengals have that luxury of sitting back because now when they play the Browns again without Deshaun Watson from the beginning of the game, Browns could beat them. Pittsburgh can beat them. Obviously, Baltimore already did beat them. And Joe Burrow going, yeah, we're 3-5, and 10 wins normally gets you in, so we just got to go 7-2 the rest of the way to make the playoffs. You just got to go 7-2. You're 3-5, Joe. 3-5. And you just got to go 7-2. You still play the Steelers twice, the Browns and the Ravens one more time. There's 4 games. I'd say you'd be happy to split those, which means in the rest of them, you got to go 5-0. I'm sorry. Zach Taylor, listen, here's a reality with the reality check. Zach Taylor, if he was fired, would not be coveted as a head coach. Nick Sirianni, if he gets fired, nobody wants him to head coach. Zach Taylor, same thing. Nobody is looking at the Bengals' resume the last couple years and going, Zach Taylor's a really good head coach. The struggles they have had look more like Joe Burrow, Ja'Marr Chase, and at the time Joe Mixon overcoming things than it does them actually being good. That simple. So the Bengals panic meter is a 5. They got to win. They got to get to 500 in the next 2 weeks. They've got to win games. Because if they go 3-6, 3-7, there's a couple teams that are sitting in a really good spot for that wild card, and you don't want to fight them. All right, the next team, Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a 5. This is a 5. They needed to beat Green Bay. They needed to beat Green Bay, and they couldn't pull it off. I predicted Trevor Lawrence to throw an interception. He threw one. Jordan Love, I said it, would throw an interception. I had the Jaguars winning. And once again, when it came down to it, the play calling from Doug Peterson sucked. Brian Thomas is an absolute stud. Him and Trevor Lawrence are getting on an absolute, just a golden page with each other. But the defense cannot get out of its own way. Doug Peterson's play calling is awful. The panic meter is 5, but I wouldn't sell this team. I wouldn't. I just fire the coach and honestly run it back with another draft pick. Maybe sell off expensive receivers. Trade off Christian Kirk for a 5th-round pick. If you think that Bisbee is better than ETN, trade off ETN for a 3rd or 4th round pick. But Jacksonville is currently sitting at 2-6, 28th in total defense, 14th in total offense, 28th in turnover differential. That is all you need to know right there. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on this because I still think this is coaching over the roster. The roster is built really good. But Doug Peterson is once again wasting a roster. Again, wasting a roster that could easily be vying for that fifth spot in the playoffs, that first wild card spot. But it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. I don't get it. I'm slightly frustrated because I hate it when guys like Josh Allen, the defensive Josh Allen, Brian Thomas, Trevor Lawrence, Bisbee, Etienne, Evan Ingram, Falu on defense, Savage. I hate it when guys go somewhere and the roster is built so good, but you can't get over the coaching. The coaching is so bad, you can't outplay the coaching. So Jacksonville, not going to spend too much time on it. Their panic meter is a 5, but I wouldn't sell anybody. I would just wait, see if you can get back to 8-9. See if you can go 6-3 the rest of the way. See if you can go 5-4. If you can finish above 500, fire Peterson and move on. All right, the Cowboys. The panic meter for Jerry Jones is called pissed off. On a scale of 1 to 5, it's pissed off. Because everything he's doing is now being called into question. And I do mean everything. Coming off of a bye, I want to give the game fairness against the Niners. The first half, they were not bad. But they weren't great. Coming off a bye, they weren't bad, but they weren't great. The offense wasn't anything exciting. Just wasn't. And then they get blown out in the third quarter because McCarthy cannot make halftime adjustments, ever. And Kyle Shanahan's one of the best. And they just ran the ball down their throats. Dallas Cowboy defense, soft, you run them over. And that's what the Niners did. Samuel got hurt, Mason got hurt, didn't matter. Didn't matter. Reality is, it's where we're at. It's where we're at. So, what do you do if you're the Cowboys? Jerry Jones won't do anything we say. So let's just be honest. They won't do anything we say. Jerry Jones is too proud to admit when he screws up. He's not. He's good at making money, but he's not a good businessman. Those are definitely two different things. He's very good at making money, but he's not a good businessman. The product isn't good enough to continually sell itself. You have to keep coming up with new glitz and glam to cover what the product is. Not good business. So here are the stats for the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys are 3-4, 25th in total defense, 15th in total offense, and 30th in turnover differential. 30th. The reality is Dan Quinn's gone. Mike Zimmer comes in. It shouldn't be that much of a switch. Mike Zimmer does not have the same schemes as Dan Quinn. Look at what Washington Commanders are doing under Dan Quinn. That defense, they spent some money on the defensive line. Linebackers are who know who, and the secondary is who knows what. And the defense is playing their butts off. They have improved all the way through the year. They've improved each week. Dallas has just declined. And they're getting worse and worse and worse. Run on them. You'll beat them every time. Pound the ball down their throats. You'll get the W. It's where you're at. It's where you're at. I know. The Cowboys are fun to make fun of, and I get it. But really, I mean, we're talking about a team that's going to miss the playoffs. We're talking about a team that's going to miss the playoffs. Their Thanksgiving Day game against the Commanders could be for their playoff lives. Because if the Commanders beat them on Thanksgiving in Jerry World, heads will roll. And I'm totally here for it. Unfortunately, the coach is not, even a coaching change doesn't fix this team because the owner's the problem. So panic meter between 1 and 5 is pissed off. The panic meter itself is pissed off because no matter what number it is when it comes to panic, the owner doesn't get it. The owner doesn't get it. So that's Dallas Cowboys. All right, the last one we're going to go over is the Chicago Bears. 12th in total defense, 27th in total offense, 6th in turnover differential. What those numbers tell you is this. Number one, Matt Eberflus is very good when it comes to defense. Like Robert Saleh, the defense is good. The defense plays hard. Now, the Bears are 4-3. You may be wondering, they're 4-3. Why are they on here? Because of what happened yesterday. Listen, they were down 9-0 at half. The Commanders kind of felt like they were making sure Daniels didn't get hit. Let's take the long approach to this game. The Bears defense played well. Can't fault them for anything. They played well. But then Shane Waldron, the offensive coordinator I don't know. And let's be honest, the original of originals, the original saving grace play for the Bears was a pass interference penalty on a 4th and 3 that could or could not have been called. Let's just be honest. We've seen much worse not get called, i.e. the Chiefs and the Falcons. And we've seen sometimes where it's been less actually get called. So, I mean, it can go either way, and I understand that. But the offensive play calling on that drive, atrocious. I don't know what they were doing. sometimes getting too cute. And let's just be real. Without DeAndre Swift, Swift is the reason that game was even in the position it was. He broke that really big run, showed the speed, you know, that was the big play for the Bears at the time. But I mean, the reality sets in. Commanders get the ball back. For some reason, Eckler ran it out of the end zone. I really don't know why. I would have preferred for him just to take a knee. Not going to lie. That's what I would have preferred. But he runs it out, runs 5 seconds off the clock. So now they start the drive, 20 seconds. Incompletion. Incompletion. Then they get a completion because they let Terry McLaurin run a deep enough route to be able to have some time left on the clock. So then the ball game comes down to a Hail Mary. Matt Eberflus decides to not take a timeout. I know if you guys have watched shorts of this weekend, I know some of you have seen the clip of the Bears, the podcast for one of the Bears fans, kind of like Grossi and Scooter Magooter and, Steeler Dad, where he's watching the game and doing the commentary, and he goes, take a timeout, Flus. Take a timeout. Let's make sure we got this set up. Don't care if they have something set up. You need to be set up. The defense can stop it all. Let's make sure we got this set up. And when Flus doesn't take a timeout, they rush only 3. Jayden Daniels moves around, winds up from the 35-yard line, and launches the ball to the 4-yard line in the air, 3-yard line in the air, where it gets tipped by the defensive back who had just got done taunting the fans. Goes up into the air and is like a sack of potatoes for Noah Brown to catch for the game-winning Hail Mary. That was what Washington is this year. A little bit of luck, except the fact that they were the better team. Chicago couldn't do anything. Caleb Williams, wildly inaccurate. Some wildly good throws. I'll give him that. He made a couple of really nice plays. But so does Anthony freaking Richardson. Caleb Williams on the same field as Jayden Daniels looked like the subpar quarterback. With more weapons, Swift, Adunze, Allen, Moore, Cole Kmet, names. And Jayden Daniels looked so much better than him, it wasn't funny. So if you're the Bears, I'm slightly panicking because you can't beat good teams. When you're on the same field against a team that is the same skill as you or better, you look doggone awful. You look like garbage. When you're on the field with a team that is worse than you, yeah, you look okay. Your defense looks great. And your defense, with that turnover differential, is setting up your offense. So the panic meter is honestly 5 for Chicago. Actually, let's put it at a 4. I'd say a 4.5. It's not a 5 because your defense has played so well. It's a 4.5 because your defense has played really well. It's your offense that's so inept. And don't give me the whole blocking thing. We're going to get into a game where the blocking was atrocious, and the team that seemingly couldn't block won the game. Don't give me the whole blocking thing. You should be able to scheme some blocks. You got skill, you got players, and you can't move the ball. Time and time again against good teams, you can't move the ball. It's just what it is. All right. Let's talk about the game that obviously I watched living in Indianapolis. The Colts and Texans. Now you guys know I picked the Texans. This week, by the way, went 4-3 in my picks. The Cardinals and the Packers with their dang field goals to win the game screwed me up for a really big week. The Bungles absolutely fumbled away in a prime chance to prove they belong in the playoff picture contention ratio. That's obviously not true. So let's go over the Colts and Texans. I have never seen a quarterback. Oh no, I can't say that. I've seen a lot of them. DeShone Kizer when he was quarterback with the Browns, Brady Quinn, Matt Leinart, and Josh Rosen with the Cardinals. Okay, I've seen a lot of them. But I don't think I've ever seen a quarterback this accurate. Or this inaccurate, sorry. Yeah, definitely never seen a quarterback this accurate. Coming into the game, his completion percentage was 48%. Coming into the game. Now, after the game, it's dropped even lower. Now, why? Anthony Richardson was 10 for 33. 10 for 33. But he looks really good running. Yeah, good. He's a fullback. Man, get him on the outside. He's a dual threat. Yeah, go back to college. I have friends that were watching the game. Both of them texted me and said, we're done. This team is, sitting at 4-4. They've got the Vikings, the Bills, the Jets, which seems like a winnable game now, not going to lie. That seems like a winnable game. And then the Lions. So we're going to go at best 1-3 the next 4 games. Okay? The Texans' offensive line let Stroud get hit on his 36 dropbacks, I believe it was. He was hit on 27 of them. It was 25 or 27. He was hit. Jarrett Patterson, the offensive, technically he was a center out of TCU. He played guard, took the place of Kenyon Green after Kenyon Green got bulldozed. And he was like, nope, that's it. We got to protect CJ. Jarrett Patterson comes in, plays really well next to Laramie Tunzel, locks down the left side of that offensive line, and then he goes out with an injury. Stroud threw for over 300 yards. Joe Mixon would have had 100 yards if it wasn't for the final 2 plays of the Texans offense, which I'm sorry, Bobby Slowick, that was stupid play calling. I'm sorry. Run the ball up the gut, halfback dive, straight up the gut, run the clock down. You've got the 3-point lead. Trust your defense. Get the 6-point lead if nothing else. I don't know why they ran a toss play. I don't get it. Mixon was running over him. Just punch him in the mouth and go. They're on their heels. Punch them in the mouth and go. So I don't like the play call by the Texans. That's why the game ended up being 23-20. Could have been 30-20 or 26-20, just depends. But Anthony Richardson was so bad. Like, there is, I would say 75% of Colts fans are now clamoring for Joe Flacco. Just so that we have a chance. Just so that we have a chance to be able to be in these games. The team finally came out and said they were evaluating everything when it came to Richardson. How about evaluating this? He asked for a breather as the franchise quarterback. He asked to come out of the game on a 3rd and goal. Because he was a bit tired. I wish I was making this crap up. You can't. I'm tired as the franchise freaking quarterback? Can you imagine Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees coming out of the game when they got the wind knocked out of them? Talking to my buddy, and he goes, well, yeah, but if he got the wind knocked out, I go, no, he wouldn't have got any more respect than either. What was Manning's thing when he retired? What was his saying? What's the point that he looked to where he knew he could do it? When he got blitzed and hit hard by Zach Thomas, got the wind knocked out of him a bit, drove to the turf, got up and went, I can do this. That's when he knew he could play quarterback. I'm sorry, you're a running quarterback, and because you decide to run around and scramble because you can't throw the ball, I'm tired. Take me out. You asked for a freaking breather. You asked to be taken out of the game. I'm sorry, if I'm Shane, I'm like, okay, you wanted to be taken out? You're out. How? Tua has a concussion, stays in the game. Drake May had a concussion, kept playing, and then had to be forced out of the game. Jaden Daniels has a rib injury, and he's playing. Justin Herbert has plantar fasciitis, and he's playing. Hurt, injured. Dude, you freaking wimp. You're a worthless quarterback. Trade him for a 6th-round pick. Get something out of him. Put Flacco in. Let Sam Ehlinger be the backup. You'll at least be competent in games. You're not going to win many more because you're worse than the Vikings. You're not going to beat the Bills, and you're not going to beat the Lions. But maybe you can save face. Maybe you can save face. because there's too many teams that are worse than you. Getting a top 10 pick is going to be hard. It'll still be hard. I can't believe he admits, yeah, I was tired. Just told coach I need a breather. Are you flipping kidding me? Ugh. Sorry. That one hurt. That one hurt. All right, for all you fans of all the other teams, don't worry. Tomorrow, we're going to run down the division list when we do our 3 W's and 3 L's. For week number 9, listen, guys, we are 1 week from the trade deadline. 1 week. We'll get to some of the trades tomorrow. Ran out of time today. Don't want to run this episode any longer. Panic meter, done. Yeah, the comment on the Colts game because I was fiery last night. Tell you what, that's what the live sessions will be. The live sessions aren't going to get through very much because I'm going to go on some spirited rants. I'll just put it that way. Oh, but I love football. All right, guys, that is going to be it for me today. It's a beautiful Tuesday evening. Make it the best that you can. I appreciate each and every one of you, as usual, for hanging out with me. Thank you so much for listening. 3 W's, 3 L's tomorrow. Get some of the trade rumors, and we'll run down some of the standings. We're at the halfway point. We got one more week. We'll do our second quarter in review next week, actually, is when that episode will be out. So the second quarter in review will be next week after the trade deadline. Where are we at? 53 minutes. Holy crap. Yep, I had plenty to talk about. Sometimes it happens. So if you've listened this long, make sure to comment and say hi. And if you haven't, well, you wouldn't know anyway. All right, guys, have an absolutely fantastic rest of your evening. For Sports Talk with Hawk, until tomorrow, I am Hawk, and I'm out.